the Clyde Winter. And on their name, put some respect. And yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Put some respect. Reality check. Yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Put some respect. Reality check. For the young and the old. Reality check. Put some respect. Reality check. Reality check. Get ready for the show. Get ready for the show.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome, family. How's everybody doing? Let me see. What day is it? Oh, yeah. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, and we've got gorgeous Eve tonight. Come on now, guys out there. Stop fantasizing. She has a man. She's not looking for nobody. She's not looking for nobody.
No, not looking for nobody.
That's right. So y'all got to be respectful to the woman, respectful to the sage. Yes, she's a sage. What is a sage? A sage is someone who's full of knowledge, full of wisdom. And not only is she a sage, she's almost getting to be like my oracle. And that's Shanice Lindsay. That's my oracle. But hey, Eve is getting close. This woman, in a sense, is beginning.
Ooh.
You just know what's happening, baby. How you doing, Eve?
I'm well. Happy to be here. Happy Wednesday. My week's a little thrown off because, no school on Monday. So then Monday was yesterday, but yesterday was Tuesday. Tuesday was Tuesday, but Tuesday is class day. So that kind of centered me a little bit because we had class. But then I guess today is, it's already the middle of the week. So it's very exciting and a time crunch because we've got the school play coming up and all these props that need some loving.
Are you the director or?
I'm just the DJ, but I did assist in writing it and organizing it. And I guess, we all wear multiple hats there. So I'm happy to do my part. And that part is going to have to coincide with our reality check tonight because there's no way I was going to be able to wait until after to do any of this stuff because I would be exhausted tomorrow for school. So y'all just please, I'm here. I'm paying attention. And most of this stuff is just, kind of like tidying up the paint a little bit. Can you see? Like this is very dull and this is shiny. And for
what does it represent?
Well, this is a speaker. Well, it's a piece of a speaker. And their props are all handmade. So reused, recycled. We're trying to keep costs down and show them that you can, do a lot with a little bit if you have the, the creativity or at least a moment to sit and think about it. So,
I was in the high school play and I almost got hooked on acting, And
what's your favorite role to play?
It was just a regular play. I was playing a country bumpkin. It wasn't a play that that somebody. It was written by one of the students, and I almost got that acting bug, But then I said nah. I decided in 5th grade I wanted to be the greatest Black historian in history, and I was going to be the explorer. So I couldn't act and explore,
That's true. Couldn't be a traveling thespian, right?
Traveling thespian, because back in the day, I used to think that all the women wanted my body and stuff. So I had to protect myself from these greedy women out there that's looking to take me.
Look, you said that the other day. Maybe was it
Yeah,
last night? You might have said that last night too. I don't know that that's just in your head as much as that might have been what was happening. So if all the women that
it
you're
it
are
wasn't in
just
my head. Those West Side, the West Side girls, South Side girls, they were sophisticated. West Side girls, they were country, and it's just that once people found out about my 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 horoscope, whatever it was, that I was Sagittarius, they just assumed that Sagittarius is and what's the other one? The September one. What is Leo? Yeah, is that
no,
Leo?
the Virgo.
Yeah, Virgo. The Sagittarius and Virgos are whores. And so then, so you're laughing. You don't know. You don't know. This girl came up to me once back in the day and said, "I know you're a Sagittarius, but I mean, damn, you're a broke Sagittarius." I said, "Well, hey, I'm in college. What do you expect?" You know,
Oh man, broke
but I don't know.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, you just don't know how hard it was, Eve. It was hard to fight not to be what we used to call back in the 80s a gash man.
Gash man.
Right, right. It was hard, very hard. It was very hard because see, when you got girls throwing themselves at you, it's very hard not to go ahead and take advantage of them. And then people get mad at you, and then they say, "Oh, he used me," but you were throwing yourself at the person, and
Right.
and because of the fact, some people took advantage of it. But
Well, that's the reality check that I think a lot of people avoid. More people should have, especially if that's how they're going to live, because when you're comfortable with you, then you stop seeking outside approval. We've got a whole society, not everybody, but a lot of people are out here looking for somebody else's approval on how they live, all the way to the fact that we've got people who went to Congress and said, look, politicians, we need some laws because, it's not fair that I can't do X, Y, Z and people treat me differently. It's like, but you're out here being different. So what's the problem? But then I guess it kind of stems into what I was saying. I think maybe people are looking for approval, and then maybe it's because they're not comfortable with themselves. So then they gotta go outside themselves, and then that's not enough. So then they have to put it into law, and then there's other things like the erasure of certain populations. Wink, wink, and people wanting to take over the people who can exist in the sun. It's crazy. The sun is out here killing people, Dr. Winters, and I feel some kind of way about it. I was hoping we could talk about that tonight.
But it is interesting, because even though we are the people of the sun, and I mean, melanated people, you know, we don't want to stay in the sun. But then it's those other people who catch cancer and from being in the sun too much that really feel that they should be in the sun. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact is that because they were originally black people before they went into the caves and they came out and once they came out of the caves, in a sense, their melanin, instead of going to their skin, went to their hair. And so as a result, they spend a lot of time trying to get brown again. I was looking at this advertisement the other day, and it was saying, "Hey, look at me! Do you think I was in the sun?" And then she was pouring the lotion out of her body to make her look more browner. And I mean, hey, that's it. And it's just amazing, when you look at the psychological implications of people who should fear the sun want to always be in the sun. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, and they know the consequences. Have you ever tried to understand that phenomenon?
In a way, yes, because when you're around people for so long, then you either start to act like them, or you I think you start to study them, on the low. Maybe you're not even thinking about it like studying, but you're not doing what they're doing, but you're observing, and then maybe you're like, whoa, I definitely would not have done that, or I definitely don't do that. That if you apply that information to other, that's studying, if when you think about it, or at least using the information that you have to do something else with. And I don't know, like you said, well, a lot of the white girls that I went to school with, and there were a lot, they were tanning all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And I thought that that was bad. I thought that if you tan, that that's bad for you. But then
Sometimes.
they make stuff to keep you safe, like sunscreen, sunblock, or whatever. That's when I learned that there's a difference between sunscreen and sunblock. Or I don't know. There's
What's
two
the
different
difference?
creams for the sun, huh?
What's the difference?
I guess one allows the UV to penetrate and the other one doesn't. But to me, it was all stuff that you're supposed to put on to keep the sun's rays from doing whatever it was supposed to do. Because in my head, I'm like, how many slaves had skin cancer from the sun? And then nobody's given me that answer ever. So to me, I guess no slaves got skin cancer. And if the slaves weren't getting skin cancer and they were out there for all them hours like they, then I'm gonna be all
Yeah,
right.
but you got to remember though the slaves. Whenever you look at the slaves back in the day, they always had a straw hat. They found some straw or something. They was gonna put something on their head,
But
something they
that's
protect
just on
themselves from
some.
the sun.
I don't think that that was because they was about to die from skin cancer as much as they understood common sense. Keep that melon cool or you will die from exhaustion and overheat. It's not going to be skin cancer. You're going to drop dead right there because it's hot and you've been out there for 10, 11, 12 hours. I don't know. I don't know. Some of the math ain't mathing or wasn't mathing. Um, Black
You know,
people wearing sunscreen, suntan lotion, sunblock, sunscreen and sunblock. Maybe it's sun. I need to look it up. I need to put that down
because
for a moment. Look it up.
I know because I have an unreal understanding of events because, growing up in Chicago, I always, always felt that, hey, you white, I'll whoop your ass if you try to mess with me. But then I'm trying to understand my parents and you guys that grew up in the South. You guys that grew up in the South, you guys have a different way of viewing life. You have a feeling in the sense is that I don't want to. I'm not going to assimilate, but I will try to accommodate your racism. Whereas growing up here, we felt that you live on 35th Street. I'll whoop your ass if you come over here. But I'm not going over there to Mayor Daley's neighborhood because I know what's waiting for me. Because that was the beauty I think of growing up in Chicago is that you knew what parts of town white folks was going to kill you, and I mean literally murder you.
Right.
You know, and but see, we would let them come in our community, and they could go up and down the street, and nobody would touch them. Nobody would say nothing to them. I didn't even see people robbing them back in the day. But
Mm.
you better not go you better not go around Mayor Daley's house. You better not go down there. If they catch you over there, and don't be on a street called Cicero. And that's where all the factories were. All the factories were on Cicero. But you better hope in the sense that if you got a job on Cicero, you better hope in the sense that you could be working with a relative or a friend so they could drive you to work. You
Oh,
know.
damn. So then,
Oh,
and all of this is Chicago?
oh yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
then, Chicago, as black as it is, was a sundown city?
Yeah, it was a sundown city, different parts of the town because see, Chicago is a city of communities. It
Right.
used to be the Italians, the Irish were very strong, and then but the Latinos then took over a lot of the white areas. But
Real quick though, you just made me think about something. You said the Irish. Why do you think that it's strange? I think it's strange. I find this strange, and I wanted to ask you about it. I don't really know how to ask the question, but it's about how historians always say the Irish were the first indentured servants. You know,
Mhm.
they say the Irish were, they keep reiterating the Irish were the first indentured servants, or the first, uh, I don't know, Europeans to be. Well, no, they keep saying the Irish were the first indentured servants, and I wonder if they're just trying to tell us that the Black Irish were enslaved, and that's why the Irish were the first.
They
Like, where is the connection between these white Irish indentured and the Black Irish enslaved? Is there a
well,
connection?
there is a connection because see what happened is that once in a sense once the British, when Oliver Cromwell conquered the Irish, you know, when he conquered Ireland and Scotland, he just committed genocide. He wiped their asses out, wiped most of them out, and they sent about 400,000 Black Irish to the Caribbean and to the 13 colonies. But because the fact in a sense is that they didn't really care about the origins, and therefore in a sense they were absorbed in the native population, the Aboriginal, the indigenous Black population. Okay, so you had the indigenous Black people and you had the Black Irish, and that's why when you look at the Doves roll, you see all these Irish names for
Right,
these Indians. But they had got those Irish names because the fact is that many of the Black Irish and the Aboriginal Black people mated with each other. And so that's how they began to get those names. But we assumed in a sense that our names came from our slave masters, which
right,
wasn't true. Our names came from our Irish and Indian ancestors who had intermarried with each other. You see.
right. So essentially, they are family names, and y'all just got to do the research on who you are and find out how old your family is. Look, it's probably all these castles that these white people in America have a crest in their home right now, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm the O'Reilly clan, and this is our family." And it was a deserted castle because the Moors had been defeated and there was nobody there, or Oliver Cromwell had kicked them out or whatever, and essentially it wasn't theirs. And then they got it, and now they
See,
got to claim it for them.
but see,
So
that's a myth.
why or what?
Okay, it's a myth because the fact
Don't
is this
laugh,
is that
chemistry. Look, that's just how I was thinking about it.
okay because see what it is that that's a myth, and the myth is in a sense is that these people, they were Black and they turned white. But see what happened is that the Black Irish were totally in a sense transported off the island. They were transported out of Scotland, out of Britain, and they were deposited in the Americas. You see, and see, but and so then, by since they were in a sense, you know, sold into slavery, then a lot of the white mercenaries who fought with the British, they occupied their castles and they took their names. You see, and so then we always assumed, it used to be we assumed that, oh yeah, the reason that the original crest of these people were Black was because the fact in a sense is that these people were originally Black. No, 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 no. A lot of them wasn't originally Black. A lot of them were white, but they just took the crest and they just got the families. They
Right,
took the family names because of the fact that they came with the British and they came as mercenaries and they was given land. They wasn't given money, so they was given land. And then during the 30 and 100-year wars, we just fought and killed each other off so much. But this is one thing about these Black Europeans. It's something in the nature of Europeans that make them genocidal. What I mean in a sense is that it's something in even the Black Europeans, they just want to just wipe you out. They believe in a sense they should wipe out every generation, but a lot of that's because the fact is they have in a sense a Jewish ancestry.
what do you will you go into that just a little bit
Okay.
more.
What it is that they have in a sense a Jewish ancestry in the sense is that many other people in a sense who left Israel and went into Africa. What they did is since they brought in there and into these countries in a sense Hebrewism. And see, if you remember, a common thing with Hebrews is that you wipe out the enemy. You kill every son, daughter, father, brother, mother. You just wipe out the entire generation of the enemies and stuff. And
Right.
so this, in a sense, became a major part. But the thing that gets me is that a lot of Africans, for some reason, a lot of Africans their boats didn't go to France. Their boats, for some reason, when they left Africa, their boats went to Britain and Ireland, and that's weird to me. But one day I'm gonna look and see.
Around.
One
Let's
thing
look.
I want to see is it because of the fact, in a sense, are there currents that carry these people to Britain? Because see, it would seem to me that France was closer than Britain,
Right.
Spain was closer than Britain, and yet these people instead of occupying Spain and then moving over to Britain, a lot of them came directly from Africa to Britain. That's why it was so many kings, so many queens, and that's why it was so much disunity and so many kings, kings in Britain. And there were so many kings because the fact is that as
I'm
black
still,
people, we like to have our little states. And because we like to have our little states, you always find among us a lot of tribalism. It's just like in Chicago. In Chicago back in the day, you had the Blackstone Rangers and then you had the Disciples. And then after a while, a lot of people on the north side say, I don't want to be a disciple, I don't want to be a Blackstone Ranger. So I'm gonna be in a sense an El Rucan. But the El Rucans in a sense were the blacks. And so then a lot of the black Puerto Ricans, they say, well, I don't want to be a disciple. I'm gonna be in a sense, I'm gonna be in a, I'm gonna be in a, I'm gonna be with the brothers. So they began in a sense become Latin kings and all that type of shit. And so do you find in a sense is that it was always this tribalism, and it's this tribalism that always in a sense affects us, and it's very difficult. See, that's why it took people. That's why it took people in a sense, like Uthman Dan Fodio and others to just, to get a group of people and then just kick other people ass and say, you're gonna be part of my part of my country. We're gonna have a federalism. I'll let you be a king, but you're gonna do what the hell I say. Because see, we have a tendency to always become tribal. Because we have a tendency to become tribal, it's very difficult to build up a civilization that's always full of tribal. It's not so bad today, but when I was growing up, you might find about two or three churches on the same block. They may only have 10 people in the church, but everybody had to have their own church. And so it's very difficult, but you have to try to do what you can to stop this tribalism. Michael uh, Michael says, "Hail to my indigenous bro, Clyde Winters, and hello to the beautiful woman. What beautiful? Oh, that's co-hosting with you. See what I told you? Stop. Listen. Eve, this is it. Eve, we're gonna have to make you like some of those Muslim women. Maybe I'll have to have you wear a veil so that you got stop fantasizing. This is a married woman. Stop fantasizing, you snakes. You know. Stop it. Just listen. Oh, it's irked me. What, what's wrong with you males out there? I'm old, so I can take it or leave it. But you gotta stop.
oh, well, I think it's a beautiful thing to be a woman who can exist in the sun, right? And then we're all very privileged. We're blessed or beautiful. That sun, it radiates through us. I think we can use it. It's an energy source. And then, well, from there, thank you to Mr. Hampton. Make sure you hit that like, the bell on the channel so then you know when we're live, which is
Yeah.
on Wednesdays around this time.
But you know,
Like,
the biggest thing, is this is that historically, even the Cushites, they call themselves the people of the sun. And that's because of the fact, in a sense, they didn't have that knowledge that we had today of melanin, and how melanin, in a sense, is a manufacturer of energy, and how we have melanin. Our brains are full of melanin. Our body's full of melanin. Our bloodstream is full of melanin. And because of this, I think that's one of the reasons why we're not all the time, we're somewhat healthier than maybe Europeans, unless of course we eat a lot of the bad foods, you know. And it's kind of
absolutely.
hard not to eat the bad foods because you got to eat whatever they farm, whatever they sell. And then if
That's
you and then if you're hard headed like me, my wife, she used to eat very good foods and stuff, and I used to eat the good foods because she was around there to block
make
me from
sure.
eating what I wanted to eat. But I still, in a sense, was able to go sneak away, sneak away,
You
and
was
eat
sneaking away and getting you like a Big
vegetables.
Mac.
She was eating vegetables and all that good stuff, and exercising. Clyde, you want to walk with me? Not this morning. I got to go to work. My baby doll before. My baby doll. We used to get up at 6 o'clock, and we'd go walk around. A couple of miles before I would go to work every day. That
It's
kept me in shape.
Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. But that's
Yeah.
the part. We were talking about once before we went live, and then, well, then you start talking about how the people who can't exist in the sun are suicidal. So then there are people who want to exist in the sun. They do these things that actually age them and kill them faster just so that they can look like they've been in the sun. Or is it to trick us or to trick themselves because they still can't be in the sun, not for a long time. When you use the those creams. Oh, and I looked it up. I was right. One of them blocks the UV rays completely, and then the other one, it filters it so that you kind of get a little bit of it. And
Yeah.
then I guess it doesn't kill you so fast or age you as fast.
But you can imagine. You can imagine if it allows the sun to penetrate, it must be doing something to you physiologically that you don't really know because it's getting in the bloodstream, and so then therefore it's doing something to you. But we don't really. I think as a people, we don't really have scientists. I'm talking about even for white folks. I don't think we have scientists in America that are really concerned about our health. I think
No,
I
they're,
think
they're all paid. I'm so over all of these people who are in these industries because even the good ones are bad. If you're not out here exposing all the shit that you've learned, then you're a bad one. And then if you don't know about it, well then you're a really bad one because why do I know more about your industry than you do? I don't think I know anything about any of these industries, but the way that you can be lobbying, a person could have been lobbying against the FDA for something and then go be the CEO of that company in 4 years, or vice versa. They can leave a company and then go be on the political opposite side of their the, the jig is up or the gig is up or they've been lying, somebody lying, all of them are lying. The doctors know how to heal people. They don't want to. It makes more money for you to come back, especially if they say, of course you don't know what's wrong with you.
yeah.
You need me.
I was really surprised when I found out they have an they have a lot of cures for different diseases now that you wouldn't even imagine, but it costs so much money, so
When
much
you say
money.
cure, what do you where cure like Western
For
or
different cancers, and stuff, they've got cures for these things. And I saw that it costs so much money to get the cure. And so then therefore, in a sense, instead of them making it so that everybody has an opportunity to get cures to these various diseases, they put such a high price on it so that the vast majority of people are going to die. You know,
absolutely.
and
But
and
then
it's
that
terrible.
goes back to what you were talking about, how we eat. You know, they call our diet here in America the standard American diet, which is sad. Standard American diet. That's sad, right? And then you think about what people eat on a day-to-day basis, and that's sad to me. I don't eat most of the stuff that I used to eat, and I don't feel like I'm any better than other than
Yeah,
if people want to be competitive, then let's put it on a, let's run a mile. Let's do, what are we gauging from there, and then am I better? That's the only time I really want to talk about like
yeah,
better than. And then if you want better for you, then it's got to start at home. You already know that. Everybody already knows that, but they've been taught that they have to go somewhere else.
yeah,
But if you don't want to get rid of that part, then, you know, who am I to tell you to not go to the doctor and get your checkup and, get your boobs squished every year in between, two metal cold plates. And, of course they're getting off to it because there's no reason for that test to be like that. Or, heaven forbid you have a male gynecologist or a male general practice doctor, and then he's all like, hey, do you need
yeah.
your pap smear? And it's
You know,
like,
like
maybe not by you, or
back in the 70s, Cook County Hospital, that was the main hospital, and so then, my wife, she used to hate to go to Cook County because we went to Cook County. Even if you had a cold, the first thing they wanted to do was to check your your genitals, you know. And so then because it was like everything had to be associated with female genitals in terms of medicine. And then I think about the fact that up until I was 21 years old, I had to go to the pediatricians when I went to the hospital, you know, because I mean I wasn't supposed to be grown until I was 21. Now here it is. I got two children. I got two children. And I'm 21 years old, and I'm 21 years old. I'm still going to the kid doctor and stuff like that.
you
You
better
know,
been getting a family discount because, like, aren't they seeing the
no,
same
they
thing?
didn't give you a discount.
What? No, is somebody not doing their
But
job.
when I first took ed psych back when I was in college, they talked about the fact that men didn't really have couldn't really didn't have wasn't didn't really have full use of their hands until they was 21. And they had us like, we were very that we were so underdeveloped in comparison to women, but they were true. It was true because see, that's one of the reasons that a lot yes it was.
I'm
That
a,
was
I'm disagreeing, but I'm gonna reserve what I'm gonna say for after what you say.
okay, because see, what I found in a sense is that a lot of men, they didn't have those abilities. They didn't have they weren't good with their hands except filling on girls. But other than filling on girls, they didn't have that stuff. And there was a lot of things. I mean, the ed psych books after a while, by the 1980s, they just started making the characteristics of females the entire characteristic of adolescent children, period. And it wasn't. And so then, and so when I looked at an ed psych book, when I looked at my ed psych books from when I was in college in 69 and 69 to 73, and then the ed psych books that they were writing in the in 20 and 1990 and 2000, totally different in a sense. Totally different in a sense. And so and then I think about the fact that, as I told you, I was seeing pediatricians when I was 19 and and 20, and I had to go see these people, and yet in a sense they could send me off to go die in a war at 18. I could go die over in Vietnam or somewhere else, and yet I'm still seeing baby doctors and stuff like that.
Now, this is why I'm gonna disagree. Um, and I think you disagree too, but let's figure it out together. Let's have a reality check. Do you believe that society can be conditioned? Yeah. Can society be conditioned?
Yeah.
Or
Um,
can groups in a society be conditioned?
okay. So I believe in a sense. I believe that yes, that some people can be conditioned.
So then I would say that when you agree with that, then you would have to extend that to the fact that data can be manipulated, right? So if groups in a society can be conditioned and data can be manipulated, then the data that is recorded has already been manipulated, right? And then what's the data? The data is about the maturity and ability of men versus women, because like you, I've always been taught that we mature faster and we've got all these abilities that y'all don't have. But what I've observed is that y'all don't have the same learning opportunities that girls do. Boys and girls are given different instructions when it comes to what's allowable and then what's not allowable. And then girls get the ability to go further with their creativity, and boys are kind of stunted. And if you want like an example, if you go to any store that has boy clothes and girl clothes, the boy clothes section is going to be a lot smaller than the girls clothes section. And I know you can say that for men and women, but let's just say that men and women are basic and women are always going to be more extra. Like we're extra. But in the children's section where they don't have any control over what's, they're not buying this. This is the parents.
Mhm.
Boys section is smaller than the girls section. They got all these different things. Boys got trucks, dinosaurs, and okay, it's more than that. But if y'all can kind of see where I'm going, easy bake ovens were for girls. Now they've got like an easy bake oven for boys, and that weirds me out. But there are men. There, most of the head chefs in these restaurants are men, but they have us all easy bake oven, and then to be this Susie homemaker, not head chef or on top chef. They're
Yeah, but then when you go to that chef's home, who's cooking? His wife. you know, I think the thing that allows a lot of men to be chefs is we like to innovate, we like to add stuff. Just like me when I was younger, not so much now. When I was younger, I used to want to cook everything that was red and green, red and green. So I'd buy red peppers, I would buy green peppers. I would try to in a sense get purple onions because I wanted everything I want everything that I cook to have red in it and green in it, and that's kind of silly, but
it's not
that's just
silly.
what I felt about it.
That's but that it's that you just told me about an epigenetic memory of growing stuff where we were talking about in my yard.
Mhm.
And I think that what you just said is the same. Um the way we do our food, there's a reason. And then things that are red are high in certain things that are very good for you, especially based off of how we eat. And you might not know the science behind it, like how I can't tell you. I think it's caspium or capsium. I don't know. It's a bunch of different ingredients or elements or nutrients, but red is really good color to look for in your food, and so is green. I'm gonna tell you what it is because I hate sounding ignorant when I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what I'm talking about. I know where to look though. Okay. Let's see. The red comes from, I think it's capsium, caspium. I'm dyslexic sometimes, maybe. Uh, capsicum? Capsicum? Okay, I can't say the word, but it's cap and then sicum, maybe.
I think that was the greatest thing that the Spanish did. That when the Spanish brought tomatoes to the Americas, our indigenous ancestors say, "Damn, we got it all now. We got beans. We got, in a sense, squash. But damn, it's all green." And then the Spanish said, "We got tomato. We bring tomato to you, negros, negrosa, nua negrasa." Then
But
they
look,
fixed
isn't it weird that that's what they bring? They also bring Mexicans and other things that aren't real, that are real, that aren't real. And tomatoes are a fruit, but you don't put a tomato in your fruit salad. Nobody does. And
no.
I hate the people who are contrary and say, well, I do. No, you don't. Shut up. Nobody
But they
puts
might they may do it. Stop being so mean.
really. They are gonna have to, and maybe there is somebody who puts a tomato in their fruit salad, but how? What? Like for what purpose? What other ingredients are in this fruit salad
Oh,
that you
create
need?
so far. I hope your sister don't see this. One time recently, my sister was cooking something at home. That shit smelled like boiled diarrhea. Create so far. Stop it. Don't
I
never
hope.
you
I
never
mean,
talk about
how
your
long
sister
it wasn't
or a woman
news?
cooking. Even though it probably did, but we never talk about their cooking because that'll get you in trouble, man. Leave they cooking alone. I mean, hell, I remember, when I was younger, when I first went to college, I, when you're young, you're kind of silly. I wanted to be an anthropologist, so I said, "Damn, I got to learn." My wife said, "What are you doing eating that shit over there?" I said, "Well, baby, this is it. Is that as an anthropologist, when I'm doing research, when I'm doing field research in Africa, I'm going to have to eat what the brothers and sisters eat. It might be a bunch of sloppy shit, but I'm going to have to eat it because a good anthropologist will eat the food because that's the one thing people are always offering you. People are always offering you food, and if you don't want to eat their food, then that's like saying it. That's like you cussing them out. She said, "Well, she said, good. You go ahead and do your research over there. I'm cooking some good ish right here." I said, "Okay."
That's funny.
Yeah, my son the other day, he's saying, "Pops, you know what?" He said, when I get all the money, then I'm going to send you to do research in Africa. Do you want to go and do research in Africa? You used to always want to go. I said, "Yeah, I wanted to go when I could walk real good. I wanted to go when I had good knees and stuff. I'm going to walk around with two sticks, you know,
Yeah,
da,
those.
da, 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 But it's so I said, maybe, but it's just that it's just very interesting. Very interesting is that knowledge power. What do you see as the future? What is real? What's not real? What is this food? And it's interesting that you said that I'm going off some sort of genetic memory that I
Oh yeah,
like
let's
red
go
and
back to that. Yes,
yeah.
red foods, according to my little research real quick, it's two antioxidants, lycopene that I can say. The other one I cannot say. And antioxidants, I don't know. But it's the antioxidants that protect your cells from damage and can reduce certain diseases like heart disease and some cancers. So capsicum that I was thinking of is a pepper plant, and I just was
Oh,
getting
that's
my
good.
scientific names mixed up. But still, they also have the lycopene, and red is good for heart health and stuff. So
Family, a lot of you guys are wondering what Eve is doing. Eve is the director of a play tomorrow, and
sorry.
she's getting her stuff ready for her children to be able to carry on this play. In fact, she's not going to be able to sleep that much tonight because she's going to be up to what it's 10:30, almost 10:30 there. She's going to be up to 1 or 2 o'clock getting stuff ready for that play to make sure the kids are happy. So that's good. I'm not going to hold you a long time here tonight,
No,
but
it's okay. Well, like I said, I've well, for what it's worth, I've arted on my channel before, so people who are not new here are familiar with me doing art. Sorry, I can't really see it. This is a speaker that I'm working on. This is one of, I don't know, 28 different. Look, so they painted frisbees, and then,
Okay.
well, the frisbees needed a little bit of love, so I was just helping it out so that it can look nice and, you know.
Are you guys going to videotape it or?
Well, he's gonna put it on Zoom for the parents who can't come, so I know
Ah,
that it will be
it'll
at
be
least Zoom.
archived for later use.
So
Yeah.
yeah, uh, but everybody's very excited about it. I'm excited for them. I want them to know that the things that they've been working on are all being used and that they did it. So these little tweaks that I'm doing here and there, happy to do. And y'all just gonna have to deal because I can multitask. My brain is having 58 different conversations with myself right now.
Well,
So
you got to once you guys do the program tomorrow, don't forget to post it on your web page, and so that we can kind of view it. And don't why are you laughing? I mean,
it's
hey,
my first play. Well, it's crazy, right? Because I never thought that I'd write a play or anything like that, but um, things just kind of started working towards us working together on this little project, and then everything just kind of came together. So it when you are, what's the Kwanzaa word for self-determination and then cooperative
Kuji
economic?
Chagalia,
Kuji.
Kuji Chagalia.
Yeah, when you Kuji Chagalia, right?
Mm.
It takes a little bit of work, and then um, I well, I try to be an example for them, and I hate telling them to just go buy it. Y'all, parents, y'all are too eager to just go buy something for them when y'all don't remember back in the day we had to make stuff. Like you did
Mhm.
y'all never make a diorama or a like a shoebox with your book report and you
Yeah, we
had to.
did. We did. Well, we had to do it, and so now we don't want to make the kids have to do it. But
That's
I
messed
as a
up. Y'all should be so excited that they have to do that type of stuff and show their level of understanding. And man,
but as a social studies teacher, I always encourage dioramas. But I used to by the time when I used to like to make my kids before because see my last 4 or 5 years I was teaching special ed. But when I was teaching fifth through eighth grade, I used to like my kids to have to at least you know everybody in the class at least twice a year had to go up to the blackboard, and they had to do a demonstration. They had to do a presentation because I wanted them to be a great. I felt that I wanted them to be able to express themselves and things like that. I wanted them to be able, in a sense, to be leaders and to be teachers, and I felt in a sense that the more kids the more kids was able to talk to the entire class, because see, a lot of people didn't know that I was shy, and they said, "Well, you're not shy because you talk a lot. The shyest people talk the most." But that doesn't mean, in a sense, that we're shy. We talk a lot, but we don't want to always be around your ass. I'm sorry, but but we talk. I mean, that's just it. We talk a lot, but we're still introverted. But it doesn't seem like it because of the fact, in the sense that we speak up. We just speak up because that's a characteristic, and that's what people expect. But that doesn't mean that that's part of your character. That's part of your being. It only means, in the sense that, because of the fact that out in the public, you have to present, then you present.
right.
But I remember I had a class, and I had these three girls in there. They were the best clones, boy. They were the best clones. They went on to go to college and everything, and they became very successful later. but they were. I just loved them. I used to call them my girls, you know, and I guess it was easy because I had mainly boys and one daughter, so it was easy for me in a sense to see, to look at girls as being in a sense something that could be very dynamic, and it's one of those things, and so it's good that you're trying to open up and allow your kids, your students, to be able to be all they can be. But anyway, we've been on a while. It's almost been an hour. Did you want to make a final comment about, the healing power of the sun?
Well, I thought it was weird that my my news notification was telling me about, the healing power of the sun, because I had just got an ad for sunscreen and sunblock. And I still think it's very strange that Black people are out here trying to block the sun, unless they are one of those colorist Black people with color issues. Um,
But it
they,
goes back to what you said. How you can brainwash the people, because I know when we go to Vegas, a lot of times my wife would want to put sunscreen on my grandson when he would be out. He used to love the pools in Vegas. He used to really love the Flamingo pool. The Flamingo pool at Flamingo is still going on, but he used to love that, and she used to always make sure, "Got to put on your sunscreen," all that stuff. And sometimes I think that although we don't want to admit it, sometimes we are conditioned by the society we live in, that sometimes things that are more aimed towards Caucasians, we may pick it up because of the fact that we do live within this society. And because we do live within this society, we may still, in a sense, feel that, okay, hey, you don't want them to you don't want them to maybe get cancer, but you still feel in a sense that they should be protected. But I mean, let's look at the fact that whenever you see pictures of Black people working in the fields back during slavery, they always had a straw hat on. They always had a straw hat on, and on top of having a straw hat on, most of the time they always kept their bodies covered. So then, therefore it shows in a sense that we recognized in a sense that the sun could be good, and yet the sun could also be bad. You might get sunstroke. Back out in the day, you work too much in the sun, you might get sunstroke. So again, in the things, these genetic memories, these memories, like you said, that is something from the past that makes me like to see green and red, and it is probably so true. You know,
um,
Karen said the parents are the ones who don't make the time with their children. Yeah, some people don't, but it's a lot of people who do take the time. I know I'll admit my son. He says, "Yeah, pops. Maybe mom had to die so you could spend time with us, because she was spending time with us. But when you was younger, all you did was research." I said, "No, I didn't. You're lying on me." He's not lying on me, but I mean, I got to call him a liar. I don't want to. I don't want to admit. Just between me and you, Eve, I don't want to admit that I was, in a way, a fuck up. But I was.
oh
Don't tell
no,
nobody, please.
oh no, no, I don't. I think people are allowed to learn, right? Everybody
Yeah,
should be allowed to learn. And then if you choose to continue to do things that don't make sense, then just understand that things are probably going to be harder for you, because you're missing that basic understanding.
and you just hope you get a second chance. I think as men, a lot of times we got to hope we get a second chance with parenting. That's why a lot of times you may find whereas a father didn't spend so much time, have as much time made available for his children, a lot of times he may have much more time available for his grandchildren. You know,
Right,
and so
right.
then therefore, in a sense, that there is this quid pro quo, but it's kind of a little different, you see.
It's
But
but Oh, the green, um, chlorophyll, right? And that's what makes plants green is the
Right.
chlorophyll, and that's the plant using the sun. So then you are eating the plants that love the sun the most because look at how green it is, just chlorophylling itself. And it's said that for people, it's a multivitamin straight from the earth,
Mm.
green foods. So,
But I read somewhere that dandelions are good for you too, but we don't eat dandelions like that.
but that's because you've been taught that they're a weed, right? If
Right.
you weren't taught that it was a weed, then maybe you would still kind of be like when you were a kid and you saw the little poofy flower and you made your wish or whatever,
Right.
you blew it at the girl. That's a dandelion. Those are dandelion seeds, and then you're spreading those bad weeds. And no, you can eat it. You
Yeah.
can drink the tea. Uh, if people live where they have grass, because I know a lot of people live in like a concrete jungle. They don't have a lot of grass. They don't have the same opportunities that I do have in a yard. But if you have a yard or the ability to have a yard, you should use the sun and grow something and help yourself out because it I think the healing powers of the sun um are being wasted. It's all this power out here not being used. And then, like I think chemistry said in the chat, or it might have been crates, they're out here trying to block the sun. They're putting all these blockers in the air or in
Yeah.
the atmosphere. It's not good what they're doing. So, you
Yeah,
know,
they're putting out they're doing those clouding. But I think that's because I think they're putting all those clouds in the sky. A lot of times that smoke that is coming out of the planes, I think that's because of the fact I think they're in my imagination, I think they're at war with some type of aliens. And
mm,
they're trying to, in a sense, make it so that they can't really really live in the earth atmosphere. Maybe it's probably just a fantasy, you know.
maybe,
Yeah.
or I mean, or it's real. Either way, the sun is ours. And when I say it's ours, it's not killing us. So if it's not killing us and it has the ability to, then maybe it's something that we use while we still have the ability to use it because the way that everybody was so eager to just be inside when they had the pandemic, they don't want us to be outside. And for what? Uh, for what purpose? To what end? And if it's because they can't exist in the sun, then that's not fair.
You
That's
know,
that's not nice.
during the pandemic, I used to get in my car and drive around all the damn time. I was mad though because I couldn't go to Walmart and find some cheap stuff. But I used to still like to go out every day. And my grandson, he was working at Myers, and at that time he's doing another. He has another job now. But he's working at Myers, and you go around the Myers, and they were the heroes, because they were on the front line, And then my grandson used to say, "Damn, we were on the front line, Grandpa." But hell, they didn't give us
No
any danger pay.
money, right?
They didn't give any danger pay. They didn't boost me up until it was till after they didn't boost me up until the regular time to get the raises.
Yeah, that's how they do us, you
But
know.
the interesting thing was, when they had the pandemic, it was a site that talked about the pandemic that they was going to do it, and they're supposed to bring another pandemic this year. So far, they haven't got around to it. So I'm really waiting to see if they're going to carry out that plan, or do they feel that it may not be necessary. So we'll see. We'll see because see with what we're calling with Trump being so dumb, and oh yeah, he's very dumb. He's very dumb, and the reason he's dumb is that he don't understand is that he's hurting his people but then they can't help but hurt because it's like somebody said in the video is that They always feel they're hurting us, but everything you do to deny us, you deny yourselves, and you can't win. I mean, damn, I'm supposed to be living in a shack. I'm supposed to be living in a shack with 30 other people on the plantation, and yet I'm not there. You're supposed to be sitting on a wooden bench that you made instead of that nice leather couch. But no, they can't hold us back. They want to hold us back, but they can't.
That's right. No, if I'm gonna be sitting on, well, I mean, I'd be happy to sit on a bench that I made, but it would have all sorts of furnishings because,
It'll be based on B1 Black knowledge. It'll be cool.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, did you want to have a final comment? We'll call it an evening.
Well, make sure you go outside and enjoy all of that vitamin D, especially since other people can't. We should count our blessings, and then, maybe you'll see us next week for another reality check.
That's right. You got to, in a sense, be ready. Have a great evening.
Wait, chemistry in the chat. Be careful with dandelions. I might have had an allergic reaction, but I think that it might have been because the dandelions that grow here are like this crazy swamp grass dandelion. I mean, they're like dinosaur sized if I let it grow, and it's spiky. And not the dandelions that you would think as much as they are. It's just a different type of wildflower. So make sure that you don't have any allergies before you eat it. So that's
you heard that. You heard it here.
Thought you might appreciate that. Yeah.
If you're not going to speak up, you're the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, you're the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, you're the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, you're the ones who do. Vampires, they prey on your fears, so them not stay away. Vampires, they prey on your fears, control your atmosphere. Don't let them suck your control your atmosphere. I am you, control your atmosphere. Don't let them suck your energy. It's a distraction away from me. I am you and you are me. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Nobody but yourself. Don't follow. I said nobody but yourself. Don't follow. Nobody but yourself. Don't follow yourself. Nobody yourself. Nobody but yourself.
Our identity and our culture as Black foundational Americans. Yes, yes. Wars between Black Indians and whites were manufactured to produce Black slaves for whites. The English, the French, and the Dutch provided the Native Americans with guns, rum, and cheap goods to purchase Native American Indian slaves. Between 1670 and 1720, many Black Native Americans were enslaved. The Black Native Americans were sold into slavery throughout the 13 colonies. Mississippi Valley, Canada, and the British West Indies. The majority of black Native Americans sold into slavery by whites and Indians. Slave traders were the Choctaw, the Yamasee, and other Carolina tribes. Yes, yes. Many of these tribes like the Mandi, Mandinga, many of these tribes, we lost their names. And their names have been lost to history because of the fact, in the sense that when the European came, as he conquered these black Indians, he just made them slaves. And so over time, in a sense, their nations disappeared. Over time, in a sense, their history wasn't recorded. Over time, they were even able to deny that Aboriginal blacks even existed in America. They wanted to give our Aboriginal ancestors gifts. And the only problem with the gifts that they gave us was that often these blankets that they gave us carried smallpox. Yes, diseases. They also, in a sense, gave us another gift, rum, fire water. And this rum caused an addiction among us. And in a sense, it led to a demand for guns because it incentivized Indian slave trading. Yes, the first slaves sold in America were Indians, black Indians, selling other black Indians to Europeans to work on their cotton, not on their cotton plantations, their tobacco plantations, their rice plantations. Yes, yes, yes. We sold each other over here, just like in Africa, because of the fact is that we failed to understand that we are one, we are one, we are one. We should be united based upon our identity and our culture as black foundational Americans. Yes, yes. Reparations, baby, reparations. We deserve reparations. We deserve reparations like yesterday, not just today. No, not just today. We deserve our reparations. Give us our money, baby. Cut the check.
Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for
The only thing that can save you is be one, be one, be one.